Hey, yo, what's going on, friends? Welcome back to In Madness Pod. It's Shawn the Butcher. I'm here with Vertebrae 33. What's going on?
What's happening, Shawn? How are you?
I'm very good. We are not doing a movie today because it seems like our new system, it seems to be going over well. I think we put it over quite well. We're doing a 15.5 episode today. So another shorty. So me and Vertebrae can just go back and forth on current things that are going on that maybe we can't hit when we did our Terminator episode, or we can't hit when we're doing whatever the next episode we're doing is. Sometimes I could squeak a Simpsons reference into the middle of it, but we can't highlight it the way that we do on these point fives. So thank you for joining us at In Madness Pod on the socials, inmadnesspod@gmail.com. We are on Threads now. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page and our In Madness playlist, where you're going to go from hearing the Dillinger escape plan to the Ronettes to themes from the movie The Witch. It's just all over the place. And I like what we're building here. And I like anybody listening and participating and commenting and telling us that they love the movies or dislike the movies. If you hate the movie, it's fine. Just listen to the podcast and tell us if you like the podcast.
Yeah, go all the way to the end. We don't care. Listen, you can hate listen if you want in your car and get all angry, drive safely, but hate listen to the podcast. You do squeak in a lot of Simpsons references. I feel like we have to get somewhere with the Simpsons. Maybe I thought the other day on some of these point fives, maybe we just cover a Simpsons episode or something, or talk about some of the Treehouse of Horrors, or just, I don't know, but yeah, people seem to love it. I thought about the point fives, and I thought that they're, like a time capsule for us. So this is what's going on in between sort of the main show. So the main show is come here and listen to us talk about movies. We'll give you facts. We'll give you real facts, nonsense facts. We'll give you, all that goodies. And this is kind of another moment in time in between those. So I think probably like podcast goes on for a really, really long time. A couple of years, somebody listens. Some of these point fives, you got to listen to them now. Listen to them when they're hot, when they still matter.
But the cool thing is, maybe they don't know something I'm going to mention in this ridiculous point five. And even 3 years from now, they could be like, oh my God, I didn't know that they released this. I got to go back and check it out. So we could put people onto stuff in the past from the future or something.
Listen,
I'm using 11% of my brain.
That goes hand in hand with my confusion over the timeline of Terminator, right?
Thank you if you joined us for the Terminator. We did it. We did not do Commando as people thought, or True Lies as people thought, or Predator, or as even I had thought. We covered Terminator. Thank you if you listened. It was one of my favorite episodes just because you can hear us getting confused as it goes on, yes, and trying to unweave this web that James Cameron has created for us, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you with the sunglasses, man. I love when the props get involved. The show is just getting better and better. And yeah, I can't wait till I get some more Killer Clowns props that I could use during the show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I heard they're putting out the popcorn gun at Spirit Halloween. So yeah, I have the ray gun downstairs. There's the Killer Clowns ray gun.
Mm-hmm.
And every year I guess they put out like new weapons. So, and I think
so, I've told you this before, I've never seen that movie. And then I wanted to see it, and now I've completely held off seeing it until we talk about it.
We got a thing coming up. We got a little thing coming up. So I think that should be part of our thing coming up. Maybe.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Maybe it could be.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that later. But thank you if you've been interacting with us on the socials about either Terminator or The Witch or these point fives. And what I've been really loving is seeing the community of the In Madness Pod interacting with each other instead of me and you. So they're like, now we're forming something. We're like, get your friends involved. If you feel they would be into this, get them in on this world, and we could all go on this journey and have fun together. But I really like seeing other people interacting and becoming fans of these things and going back and forth about these movies and these topics. It's touching.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it run on its own a little bit in that way. These discussions are happening on the side of us, so to speak. And people, I don't know. I just think it's cool that I always think it's cool that anyone's listening that's paying attention. I've had people tell me, "Oh, I love the 0.5s. Are you going to keep doing them?" There's some people who say that they'll probably will mostly listen to these because if they haven't seen the movie or everybody's schedules are insane. I've told some people even if you haven't seen the movie, you could listen. Like if you're like, oh, maybe I won't watch The Witch, that's fine. I mean, I think you should. I absolutely think you should. And I earn no money from this. Robert Eggers is. I checked my phone. I don't have his number on my
He's
phone.
516. He's a 516.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, James Cameron was 631, and yeah.
But we talk about these films because we think you should see them because we think they're awesome, and that's why we're talking about them. But maybe you watch it because you start listening and you're like, oh, this is really cool, and I want to dive deeper into it.
Listen, my body is made up of bones, right? And like maybe like Metallica's like my spinal cord, right? Each one of these movies like makes up a bone in my body and makes me the person that I am. Like all of this, these movies are like, I mean, it's like school. It's like knowledge, just learning about the world and learning about things even through a twisted Hollywood perspective. But yeah, just the
I do think though, and this is I didn't write this in my notes, but I'm thinking of it now as we go through the podcast. I bet you that more of the listeners would rather go to the movies to see a movie with you than to see a movie with me.
No, I'm loud. I laugh like a cheetah. Or
yeah, but I think it's a moment. I think you're having a great time. I don't know if you want to be sitting next
You're
to me.
coming December 1st. We're going to see Godzilla minus one.
It's going to be me leaning in being like, hey, did you know that the guy
we're gonna get mint chocolate chip ice cream and we're gonna go see Godzilla.
And if anyone has heard us reference this before, Shawn and I are in a crusade for mint chocolate chip ice cream because it's some reason people have decided recently that they don't like this flavor of ice cream, right?
They say it tastes like toothpaste. It's like
I joked with you when we were starting the podcast that we were going to have a Shawn rant moment. Do you remember this?
Yes.
At the end, we were going to have a moment where I would give you a topic and wind you up real good for an hour and a half.
Maybe you do that at a 0.5.
And then I'd give you a topic. And I remember the first topic I thought of was mint chocolate chip ice cream because I was like, there's a place. It's in Long Island, Krish's, that has mint chocolate chip ice cream.
I ate mint chocolate chip ice cream last night at a spot in Huntington, right across the street from the Paramount. They got this place called Alchemy. And once again, okay, this is not a plug. We are going off the rails completely right now. But just because I had it exactly 24 hours ago, is this place called Alchemy. They make the ice cream fresh right in front of you. They got all these little mixers and they got the frozen, what is it? The frozen water, the frozen H2O, whatever it is. And
it's magic. It's all magic.
Yeah, the pipe is frozen and they put it on and they shoot it into the ice cream and they sit there and they scoop it up and boom, you got fresh ice cream right there. So sick. Yeah, nitrous oxide. Is that what it is? Nitrous oxide?
I don't know.
Oh, that's how they got a villain in a certain movie.
Oh.
All right, let's get into this 0.5 since I have topics and we haven't hit any of them yet. So you started off because you said you wanted to cover something.
I just wanted to cover a few bits that I didn't get to in can we call it, by the way, do we call it T1?
T1, the Terminator. Yeah, T1.
I know it's the Terminator, but like then we go T2, right? So is it T1? Is that the kids can call it T1?
Yeah.
We're cool.
And then we'll hit T1000. Yeah.
We're cool with James Cameron, so we can call it T1. Or maybe he's not happy with me after the last episode, but oh well. Just a couple notes. Arnold, and we touched on him being in peak physical condition for this movie.
When I listened back to the episode, I did debate that. I did debate that because I was going to say Predator.
Right.
Predator is peak.
I mean, he's in incredible shape, but he is 37 years old in this movie. Insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. 37-year-old Arnold. What have we been doing, Shawn?
I don't look any. I got a herniated disc from sitting. I can't do what Arnold does.
You hurt your Metallica back.
My Metallica spine is injured. You know what it is? It's my Lucy bone. That's what's killing me.
Being on camera too now. I sit. I find myself and I'm all like I draw like all day long. So I'm sitting in front of a computer like this.
You get a mean hunchback.
All bunched up and hunched over, and then we get on the podcast, and I'm constantly like, okay, I gotta remember my posture. But we talked about the Carpenter influence, but I kind of neglected to mention that when he goes into the police station, there's this really strong assault on precinct 13 vibe
Okay.
going
I don't
on.
know if I've seen Assault on
You've never
Precinct.
seen that? Okay, so you need to see that movie. That is certainly a moment in time film, and it's got a heavy Carpenter vibe. But I mean, it's his film. Obviously, it has a
I've
heavy
seen
Carpenter vibe.
Maniac
But
Cop.
have you
Maniac
seen
Cop
Maniac
is a
Cop?
good one. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, Assault on Precinct 13. When I said Carpenter vibe, I mean it has all of the telltale signs of what we would consider maybe the 5 best Carpenter movies, right?
Yeah.
I think there's probably about 5 that everyone considered the ones that everyone really, really loves.
Yeah.
And it hits all those notes. The other thing was, I said it, I think I was incorrect, but they call it a T101 in the movie.
Yeah.
The T800 is referenced in T2. And then to mess it up in the novelization, they reference a T700, which I guess would make sense if you go from 100 to 800. There was a 7
Somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
somewhere along the line. But one of the sort of mind blowing things that I don't know why I neglected to bring it up when we were on it is when Arnold is going through the phone book, he's using 2 fingers as he's going through the phone book, right?
So he's
And his
reading through each eyeball, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's a computer, so he's sort of cataloging both of them as he goes down. But his right finger ends up on Sarah Connor, and his left finger ends up on a John Connor.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah,
Wow.
which is obviously not that John Connor, but it's a fun little moment that if you go back and look at it, that now you can't miss it, right?
More gnarly bits. Very
And then,
cool.
this other thing is in a version of the script, Sarah Connor had a metal pin in her leg from like an ice skating accident. And I think they wrote it in because Linda Hamilton was injured and they had to wrap her ankle. So if you go back to some scenes, she's kind of limping a little bit, but I think the movie's gone on. So maybe you feel like she's limping because, they've been running around like crazy or whatever. And they say it's an ice skating accident, but in the novelization, the guy who wrote the novelization, Randall Frakes, and now I feel like I need to read this novelization. He wrote that it was shrapnel from destroying the Terminator that's in her leg.
There you go.
Right. So now we get this whole thing. And what's crazy is at one point in the scripting, and it was in the script and they took it out and it ended up in the novelization too, was that Arnold, the Terminator, would like rip open somebody's leg to see if like the metal pins were in it. Right. And that got me thinking, okay, fine. He's going to ask you, you're Shawn the Butcher, and you're going to say yes. And he's going to go
Yes.
at you. But like, how does he know for real that it's them? Right. Like, how is he identifying it? In that movie, he knew what she looked like after he saw her
In the
her
photo.
picture only. Right. So before that, I mean, it would have changed the movie completely if Arnold was just ripping people's legs open after he killed them.
Just picking it up and strapping it up. Yeah.
I don't think it's as snappy as a movie.
Yeah.
Right. But what's crazy is the shrapnel from the Terminator. So it brings up this whole, what they call a predestination paradox. And this is what was sinking into my brain. I'm going to read the definition. It just says it's a situation in which a person traveling back in time with the intention to change the outcome becomes part of past events. Also, they're more likely to have a chance to cause the initial events which inspired the person to travel back in time in the first place. So
time
they're
travel.
more likely to have a chance to cause the initial events that had them go back. So the initial events in this are what? John Connor, right? The conception of John Connor.
Somehow
To travel back in time in the first place. So it's this weird like loop, I guess. I don't know.
Did it make more sense for Reese being John Connor's father and dying before the war, but still somehow growing up with John Connor?
Somebody should tell us. Write in, tell us in madthispod@gmail.com.
James Cameron, we're waiting for you. We know you're looking to be a guest on a podcast.
And I will also say too, all right, this point, people are going to be like, this guy has a movie podcast. I was this many years old when I really realized that there were like a ton of other Terminator movies.
Oh
Like,
yeah, there's like
I
and
guess,
Christian Bale's in a couple. Yeah.
it just never crossed my mind. There's 6 of them,
Mm,
right?
mhm.
So there's T1 in 84, T2 in 91, T3 in 2003. I'm going to call it T4, but it's Salvation in
Uh-huh.
'09.
I think that's
T
Christian Bale.
T5 Genesis in 2015, and right, T5, then T6 is Dark Fate in 2019, which, okay, so we prep for this podcast and I'm like, all right, I should see these movies and whatever. And I forgot that this Dark Fate movie happened.
I don't
But
even know if I saw it. Yeah.
well, I mean, Linda Hamilton's in it in the trailer, and Arnold is in it, and he's got a gray beard. So then, as I'm doing this stuff and I'm researching time travel and everything, and then I'm like, why would the Terminator have a gray beard? Right? It's like the old Transformers with like the gray beards. Like I don't get it.
I mean, that's why he said they grew it with the blood and the hair, your bad breath. Maybe they were like, beards is 20 years later, beards is the way to go.
Right, but is that him? Is that I don't know.
I
I just
honestly,
was like,
I think I've seen the movie because I know I remember seeing all of the Terminators in theaters, and just going out, seeing them on a Friday night, watching them, forgetting them the second I walk out the theater.
I think I've seen another one of them, and I'm certainly not disparaging them because I haven't seen them,
Yeah,
and nor does
yeah,
my opinion matter on whether they're good or not.
yeah.
But totally, like, sort of erased from my brain at
Yeah.
all.
I
You
mean,
know?
listen, it's when you love a band and they put out, 4 sick albums, but they got 12 albums. Some of them are gonna stick with you, and some of them are not gonna stick with you.
Mhm.
T1 and T2 definitely stick with you. The others I remember though that one of them had like a female cyborg, chick.
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
pretty cool. I
Yeah.
remember that one, but I don't remember anything else.
Yeah. And then the last little just bit is in the novelization for the T1 Terminator. Um, the janitor actually replies to Arnold. So he says, "Fuck you, asshole," and then he
Mhm.
replies, "Fuck you too, pal." Could you imagine if that had been in the movie?
He would have ripped his spine out like
Right.
Predator through his mouth.
But it just takes away from the moment. It's like on this podcast when you're going to make some awesome point and I talk over you with some like
Like, when
dumb
I say,
little.
"I'll be back." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just like that. Just how I ruined I'll be back.
No,
Uh,
it's it we
but
once we get in the same room, it'll be a lot easier.
are we getting the same?
I mean, who knows? Maybe one day when I
That's
hit the
the
Mega
running theme
Millions.
of this podcast.
Yeah.
But I just can't imagine a response. Like that didn't need a response. So
No.
they went the right way with it in the script. I don't know why you'd even. I don't know if that came from the script or wherever, but it was added in. So those were just a few gnarly bits that I didn't get to talk
I
about.
love it. Thanks if you listened to The Terminator. We wanna hear your favorite parts from the movie on the socials at In Madness Pod. I got a couple of little things here. I did just wanna highlight something I saw that made me very happy. The, Ninja Turtles, the old school cartoons that I used to
Mhm.
watch back in the day are going to be made available. I think it was purchased by Nickelodeon or something,
Okay.
and it's going to be on Pluto TV, which I recently downloaded for Godzilla, which is I mean, all I've been doing is watching Godzilla movies. They
Mhm.
recently showed the original at like 2 o'clock in the
Right.
afternoon. I was like, yes, please. But yeah, the old school Ninja Turtles cartoons with the classic intro music, and
Nice.
it's basically the show I grew up watching every day before I would get ready for school. And if you want to talk about super nostalgia, I mean, I love Ninja Turtles. I had every Ninja Turtles toy when I was a kid. And Shredder is like one of my favorite villains of all time. And those old school cartoons, I always wanted to like look them up on VHS or whatever. And
Uh-huh.
like, I just could never find them.
Hmm.
And the fact that I can now watch it on Pluto TV, I think is
That's
sick.
amazing. And this is where we go off on another tangent, but
Yeah.
so there's another podcast that I listen to. It's a YouTube show. It started as that. They have it as a podcast, but it's very visual because it's about comic books, and it's called the Cartoonist Kayfabe. with Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor, and they've gotten so huge. They have these huge guests on, but they have had Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird on multiple times, and they literally sit down and go through the first 5 or 6 issues of the original Turtles comic, like page by page, and tell stories. And they certainly tell stories about when they sold the rights and all of that. So that's amazing. Cartoons Kayfabe. If you're into comics, if you're into that kind of history, you can listen to Peter Laird does an interview just by himself, kind of talking about them trying to get that comic off the ground and trying to find the correct printer just to print it, and how it became this sort of overnight phenomenon for them. It's
Because they used to be like it used to be way violent, and they used to not have like the colored bandanas. They all kind of like looked the
yeah,
same.
and that was sort of they've kind of reconfigure that if you're going to have it on not be black and white, do a shade comic, black and white deal. You got to add color to differentiate people. You got to do it to be able to sell toys. Those
I
types of
had
things.
every one of those toys, and I follow this dude on Instagram. Is it Dinosaur Dracula? This guy posts all of the old boxes and all of the old toys and all of the old ice cream. Yeah, Dinosaur Dracula on Instagram. This dude, he posts the coolest stuff, everything I grew up with. Make sure you follow that dude. Shout outs to him. Did you have any other?
Oh, just the turtle thing. So I went to a comic book cartooning school called the Joe Kubert School in North Jersey for a year, and Eastman came there and spoke to a small group of us. And I'll admit this here, and it's an embarrassing moment. But there was one dorky guy in the room that was like, "Hey, why don't you tell us about putting Vanilla Ice in your movie?" And that was me. That was your co-host for the podcast. And I regret it to this day, because I got a moment to ask Kevin Eastman a question, and I thought I was being too cool for school. And ask him about that. And in the back of his mind, he's probably just counting all the money he made from those movies and laughing at me the entire time. But he took it really well. He took a deep breath and kind of explained, just sort of, we're naive artists who want to be famous comic book artists. So I thought it was awesome that both of them are super active in the comic book scene and helping other up and coming artists. So I think Eastman owned Heavy Metal magazine for a while and stuff like that. So just check that out. But yeah, there you go.
And this isn't even in my notes, but that first Ninja Turtles movie is dark.
Yeah.
And I think much like Lucy and much like all of our other movies, it fits very snug into the In Madness universe. So
maybe we could try to get Kevin Eastman on.
I mean, let's reach out. Yeah, let's
do the movie, and then I can apologize to him in person.
Yeah. You'd be like, listen, I got to make up for this from 27 years ago.
Actually, virtually, because I'm not going to go anywhere where I have to talk to him.
No, absolutely not.
But virtually, I will apologize to him.
There was I want to thank everybody again who joined us on our Godzilla Instagram live that we did. It is still available on my Instagram page at Shawn the Butcher. Me and you, we did a 0.5, but we did it on Instagram live, which will probably be a new thing, 0.5 Instagram live. I don't see why not. When things pop up, we just hop on IG live instead of doing a 0.5 like this. We do it on Instagram live.
So when you're hanging out with James Hetfield soon, you can just grab your phone and be like, "Hey, you want to do a 0.5?"
Real quick 0.5.
And then he won't know. He doesn't know what a 0.5 is, but he doesn't want to say he doesn't know, because you don't want to be like out of the loop. So he'll be like, "Oh yeah, 0.5s. I love them."
Yeah, sure. They're great. They're great. Now, please, I'd be lucky if I could just get him saying you're listening to In Madness Pod. I think that would make me I would faint. But I want to thank anybody who joined us for the In Madness Instagram Live 0.5 for our Godzilla, the new -1 movie that's coming out. I posted the trailer for it. We watched the trailer multiple times. There is a comic book coming out, and it's Godzilla versus Kong versus the Justice League.
Oh yes, I saw at San Diego Comic-Con they put something up about it.
Coming out October 17th. I don't really know much about it. I didn't do a ton of research into it. I just saw it and was like, cannot friggin' wait. I think you gave me a Godzilla comic.
I do. I think I might have another one here for you too. I
Yeah.
get the old comics, but
I love anything Godzilla. If you've listened to any episode of In Madness Pod or any of these point fives,
we got to get a PO box so people can send Shawn the Butcher or Godzilla stuff.
yo, some dude stopped by Mission Sandwich and left me a Mothra vinyl and a Godzilla toy, and
Amazing.
it was the coolest. The coolest. Thank you, thank you, thank you for listening and for enjoying Godzilla as much as I do. But
The
yeah,
only problem with dropping at him at Mission is you and I still haven't been able to get there to get a sandwich for
yeah,
like
I can
months.
get there. It's just getting you involved in the equation to then go all the way from Long Island to Brooklyn has been it's not an easy process. It's not an easy process. But pick up the Hail Sean sandwich at Mission Sandwich. Check out our menu episode with Chef Brian from Mission Sandwich. And yeah, I cannot wait to check out this brand new Godzilla. I mean, I don't pick up comic books that often lately.
Mhm.
But when this comes out, October 17th, I'm writing it down on my calendar. I'm
Yeah.
picking it up the day it comes out.
I got so excited I banged my hand on
I
the
see you. I see
yeah,
you.
I got
The,
so
la-
pumped.
the last time I was this stoked for a comic was when Superman died.
Maybe we should go to a comic shop together.
Yeah, come
We'll
with
be
me.
making plans.
That's how I could get you out to the house.
Yeah, if I'm buying a book, I'll go.
Maybe we go get a sandwich and then we go buy some comics. This sounds like a good day.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good day. But
It
yeah,
sounds like a good day now and a good day when I was like 15 as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it'll be a
not
good
much
day when
has
I call
changed.
you and I'm like, you want to go? And you're like, nah, I can't today. And I'm like, all right, I'll bring you back a comic.
Yeah, wrap me up a sandwich to go and pick me up a comic.
Yeah, I was big into the last time I was big into comics was when Superman died, and they had that whole build up to it, and then when Doomsday killed him, and then when he was reborn, and they had the four Supermen with the cyborg dude and the young kid,
Yeah.
and the dude of steel, and the guy with the yellow sunglasses. I have all those comic books. There used to be a place. Damn, now you're bringing me down nostalgia. I'm going all the way back and all the way off script. There used to be a spot in Queens, New York called Sports Dog. Shout outs to Ed. If you're still alive, Ed, much love from Shawn. I had to be 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, and I lived in this dude's shop. He sold hot dogs. He had the Mortal Kombat 1 arcade game and comics everywhere. And you could eat hot dogs, read comics, and play video games. And
That's
I was like, this
awesome.
is the best spot ever. And I would buy so much shit off that dude. He'd give me stuff for free. All my allowance money. All of my allowance I spent.
And you know what,
over at Sports
Shawn?
Dog.
If
Yeah.
you sold those Death of Superman comics,
No way. No way.
and added in like $1, you could probably buy a hot dog.
No,
They're
yeah.
worth
No,
nothing.
no. And that's the thing. Like, and I remember buying extra.
Oh yeah, that's the
Man
comic
books.
boom, and that's the time where they were, and we're going off on comics, but that's the time when they were really exploiting. Right, so you have Image Comics that comes in, and there's this huge comics boom, and they're doing multiple covers, and they're doing variants, and they're trying to find any way to get readers. That was a desperate ploy by DC Comics at the time to get people to read Superman.
Oh, I was in.
As people in the early 90s weren't into that type of hero anymore, right? We were into darker heroes at that
Spawn,
time,
yeah.
and so they tried to find a way to kind of do that, and then they dug themselves in a hole. But yeah, all of those 90s comics, and I have a ton of them, are not worth. They're worth it to you if you enjoy reading them and having them.
Not
All
worth
the
a
people
penny.
who bought them thinking they would, hold on, I got 5 the hologram covers of this and that. They're not
Worth a thing
not
because
worth the
they made
paper they're
so many
printed.
of them. Yeah.
Yeah,
For
but
real.
yeah, I distinctly remember that moment in comics time.
I
And
love Doomsday. Doomsday is one of my favorite
also,
villains.
I gotta ask this: so he sold hot dogs in the comic book store?
Yeah, yeah. So he had the comics in like a glass case. So
Okay.
like if you wanted it, you would have to buy it first, and then he'd give you the comic, and then you could sit there, eat your hot dog, read your comic, and play Mortal Kombat 1 on the arcade.
My
And he'd
God.
open at like 10 a.m. So during the summer, I would just be there from 10 a.m. until he closed.
And is it still open?
No. It closed even when I was still a kid.
Okay.
I constantly think, what happened to Ed? Ed was the coolest. Yeah, I remember him. He was like, yeah, you get 4 comics and I'll give you the 5th on the house. And I was like, my man.
Yeah, that's why it closed.
Yeah, I know. I shut that dude down. Yeah, that upcoming Godzilla versus Justice League versus King Kong comic looks like it's
That's
sick.
awesome.
I have one more. Do you have anything else you want to hit?
I had like a kind of heavy topic to discuss, and it
Oh
was
no.
just it just brought me back around with Terminator and everything else. And this is a current discussion that everyone's having with AI art, right? And I don't know, was this your other point that you were going to discuss?
No, no,
Did I
mine has
spoil
nothing
something?
to do with
Okay,
anything.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, I just wanted to kind of take a second to sort of explain to some people what that means for somebody like me who creates art for a living, right? And so, yes, people use computers for art. I draw on the computer. You follow me on Instagram, you can watch me drawing in the videos I put up. It's on a computer. Why? Because, the way I draw, I'd be erasing 1,000 times and drilling a hole into found a way for me to draw the same way I draw on paper on a computer. I took it over, but I'm drawing it. I'm creating it from my brain, right? And I think sometimes people get confused with what AI art is and where people get things from. So if we go back to our Mist episode and Drew Struzan, right? Drew Struzan uses photographs for his paintings, right? He uses them. He may even project the actual photograph on the canvas and kind of blue line or trace in the some of the features of the face to get the likeness down so that he can then start painting on it. But I can give those same photos to 1,000 people and nobody can paint the way he does, right? So you can dismiss that argument of like, oh, people have always used photos for reference or this or that. What AI art does is it generates off of prompts, and it's got to get those ingredients from somewhere else, right? It can't get it from nowhere. So if you type in, and I've drawn a lot of Cthulhu's over the years, you type in Cthulhu art, it's got to get it from somewhere. Cthulhu doesn't exist. Nobody has a photograph of him. So it gets it from other art, and it uses those ingredients to build its art. So it's stealing these other ingredients. It's not stealing, if you draw a skull and you use a picture of a skull to get it right, fine. If you use Pushead's drawing of a skull and you trace that to get his way he drew a skull down, that's not correct, right? That's stealing. And that's what AI art is doing. That's what these lawsuits are about. And I've already had people be like, well, it's the future. And it very well may be the future. What it can't do now, and this gets in the weeds a little, is it spits out a flat piece of art. That's it. It's not layered. You can't bring it into Photoshop. You can't do anything with it, right? So past just making it, there's nothing else you can do. And if anyone listening to this podcast is a designer and a career designer, they know that you're only as good as the changes you can make on the designs you make. Everyone's got a great idea initially, right? But it's how you adapt afterwards when they're like, that idea looks fantastic, but can that arm be up in the air instead? And can that outfit, can it be a trench of, a tank top? And it can be, so what are you going to do? Type those prompts back into AI and hope it spits it out the way you need it? So humans have to do that. Will we get to a point where humans are just taking what AI art gives them and working upon that? Possibly, right? But they would be more of engineers with some sort of, right? Hey, Prometheus engineers, uh, with some sort of basis of art. You're talking about people who have done. We joke on the podcast about me not going anywhere or doing this or doing that, but like, I mean, I can't tell you the countless amount of hours that I sat by myself drawing something and redrawing something. And I mean, my God, I did a perfect circle poster once, and all it was a profile of a woman's face and this hand with this melting perfect circle symbol. I redrew that hand. I can't even tell you how many times. I just couldn't get it right. It looked weird, and I was over and over again. I didn't type it into something. I tackled the job to get it done properly. And what people don't get is when they play around with this software and they feed into this software, they're helping them get investors because they're going to say, look how many people used it. I don't care if you're just messing with it. Look how many people used it and typed into it. Let's invest in this even more and let's squeeze out more people. So it is a huge issue. It's an issue, right? Even with talking on the radio, it's an issue with a lot of things. Um, but too many times with art do people play loose and fast for what they can use. And it's like, show your homework, show your work, show that you okay I
Long
drew.
division.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Long division.
Yes. Where did you get those materials from? Did you sit and hone your craft? And I had somebody say to me like, oh, you're so serious about this, and I'm like, but it's my career, right? It's not, and it's past my career. It's what I've always wanted to do. So it's what kind of guides me in general. So yeah, I'm serious about it. And yeah, feeding into it and posting and I won't even name the companies, but posting your art from those companies on Twitter and adding famous people when you do that, that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help anybody. I'm gonna do it, Shawn. I'm gonna call out two people.
Do it.
All right. This is as hostile as I've ever been on this podcast. This is it. This is where we lose all the listeners. Angry Vertebrae 33. I'm just going to say that they used AI art in the beginning of the Secret Invasion. Marvel used it in the opening credits, right? And there was just no reason to do it. And I've quietly not watched that show, even though I've wanted to, but no reason for that. And then I'm going to hit your area of the business and say that the new August Burns Red album,
Oof.
that cover is AI art. Right?
Oh, okay.
And there's just no reason to have done that, right? August Burns Red is a band that often was very involved with artists over the years. Their covers were very distinct. They used professional illustrators and artists to create what they have. And the most recent album is AI art, which is, and as soon as they posted the cover, they were getting destroyed by people left and right on social media. But like anything else, the fervor dies down, people forget about it, and they move on to something else. By that, later in that afternoon, do they move on to something else? So there are just two bands, and August Burns Red is a band I liked. I'm not going to listen to them. I'm not going to support that album. I'm not going to buy it on vinyl. You don't have to ask.
Yeah.
But I think it's disappointing. I think it's disappointing if you're going to take the easy way out of something like that, and skip over craftsmen who've created something. And maybe we'll come back around. Maybe people will sort of realize that, the heart and soul is not there for it, but that's fine. But that could take a decade.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that takes a while. That could really affect people's futures and their career. So I think it's something that everyone is watching closely. I think for as many times as we recreate Indiana Jones' face in a movie as young Harrison Ford, it's amazing. And I love it in the moment in Dial of Destiny, which is a great movie. But I think about it later and it gives me pause to think, okay, so who's to say that actor's family can just sign over the rights when they pass away and we continue to make movies with that person's likeness on it? And I know that's not AI art, but it all starts muddling into the same area. So that's my thank you for listening to me rant about that.
No, you have to get that out there, and people need to know. People need to know. I mean, and to loop it back, James Cameron was recently talking about AI, and he's like, I told you all this was going to happen. And I'm looking at a thing right here from July of 2023. It says James Cameron won't be using AI to write any of his scripts.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's writing. I'm talking about visual arts because that's what I do.
Yeah.
But yes, it's
But it
affecting
affects everything. It affects everything.
I mean, people are, they need to write a resume, they need to write a review for somebody else or a recommendation. They could just type it in and get prompts and spits it out. And people, I know that I collect a lot of books from different book publishers, and there's been some issues with some of these small horror and sci-fi imprints that will have open calls for stories. And there'll be AI driven stories, and there's certain telltale mistakes that they can find, and they omit it. But instead of saying, hey, we're putting out this publication and we're going to focus on 60 up and coming sci-fi horror writers, now they got to go through like 1,000 emails because like 900 of them are not even real.
Yeah.
So
just be careful with that shit. Don't let it put us out of jobs.
Yeah, well, they can't listen. They can't recreate this magic we have here, Shawn.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
can't bottle this. There's
Yeah.
no way they can bottle
I
this.
mean, I heard the artificial intelligence radio DJ, and the shit was whack. So yeah.
Yeah. But
Um,
if you tuned out while I was ranting about it, I apologize. That's about as fired up as you'll get. That's about
and
as
one
mad as
more thing.
that's about as
You
angry.
were talking about Drew Struzan art. You're wearing that shit right now, right?
Yeah, it's
You
the
got your thing
thing. It's a
shirt.
gutter garb. Should I stand up and we can see the
Yeah,
gutter
man. Look
garb?
at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Okay, can go back and forth.
AI can't do that shit.
No, the painting that he had to do overnight for that movie. We'll get to it. We'll get to the thing. There's a lot of gnarly bits in there, but yeah, that's Gutter Garbs is an awesome, officially licensed T-shirts too, which is a big deal. And the officially licensed thing shirts Gutter Garbs has.
This is a Cavity Colors. I'll shout out Cavity Colors. My
Oh,
killer.
nice. Yep,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I got one more thing.
Yep, I'm ready.
I just want to shout out Johnny Booth, an amazing band. They recently dropped a brand new album, Moments Elsewhere. I'm very friendly with this band. They are a Long Island, New York based, I guess, hardcore or post-hardcore band. However, I mean, whatever, genres don't matter. I recently saw them live at Amityville Music Hall. I posted a video of them on my Instagram, on all my socials at Shawn the Butcher. Give me a follow if you're not. Make sure you follow our socials at In Madness Pod, at Vertebrae 33. But yeah, I mean, this Johnny Booth album, I mean, I like to talk about music. Since I don't, I talk about music in my regular job. I don't bring it too much to this podcast, but in these 0.5s, I'm always going to bring it, like the Death Clock stuff and anything else that's going on in the world of new music and new things, new interesting, fun things going on, at least from my perspective.
And Shawn, I was when that band was on my radar, I was confused at first because I think probably I'd heard about them from you, and I thought, what's the singer's name?
So his name's Andrew. And when I interviewed him, he's like, everyone calls me Herman. So I always call him Herman. But every time I give him the mic to introduce himself, he always introduces himself as Andrew. So it's very funny. I'm like, what's your name? What name do you want to use?
See, and I would blow it out of the water because I thought the guy's name was Johnny Booth.
No, ironically enough, no one in the band's name is Johnny Booth.
Right, and that's is that a John Wilkes Booth reference?
I think yes. I think so. Yes.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. Don't quote me on that. We'll
right.
talk to the band. Maybe I'll get the singer.
So can we have both of the singers' identities on?
Yeah. No, I could get. I could. I'm sure I can get him on. But I recently interviewed him for Liquid Metal that I work for, and did an interview with them. But they're heading out on tour, so right around the time this podcast is coming out, I think is right around the time they're hitting the road. They're doing like a three week run, and it's great because I've seen them before, and we've been supporting them a lot on the channel I work for, and the audience has grown significantly, and I like to think that like we helped have a hand in all that.
That's awesome.
They are an amazing band and they deserve to be in a bigger, brighter spotlight. They have been doing this for so long, and they're all so cool. Just all down to earth dudes, all have side gigs, all have jobs, all have and this is their podcast. But instead of a podcast, it's a band, and it takes tons of time and tons of money and tons of practice. And like, could you imagine if we had to tour for the podcast? Like, it is brutal.
Tour canceled. I'm gonna tell you that right.
Tour announced. Tour canceled.
It's a tour shirt with a bunch of dates.
Yeah, everything canceled.
It's all canceled.
So
you can still buy the tour shirt, but you should tell them. I think coming off Terminator podcast, like that should be their intro before they come out on stage. At bum 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 bum.
That would be a pretty.
And then hit some whining guitars after that, and crush people. See,
I love their new album, Moments Elsewhere. If you're a fan, I mean, I listen to some weird shit. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're just looking for some heavy, cool music to listen to, check out Johnny Booth's brand new album, Moments Elsewhere. I'm also very excited for Sanguisugabog, who I recently brought up on this podcast. When this episode comes out, I think like the week after, they're going to be playing Amityville Music Hall.
Yeah, I've been thinking about going.
I think it's sold out. It's sold out.
Ah, see, I
I
could have
might be able to
gone.
get us. Yeah, oh, that's it. You lost your opportunity.
Oh,
Yeah, I
you
might be able
see,
to get you in. I might be
you
able to pull a
see,
couple of
you
strings.
see how that works?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You try to dip. You probably knew it was sold out before you said anything. Yeah. But yeah,
Oh, you should have invited me. I would have
yeah,
gone.
no, what a bummer. Sorry, next time. Maybe
Yeah,
next time.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I'm not
listen.
a I will say this too, I'm not a shut-in. I feel like the last few episodes has made me sound like a
Yeah, you don't
shut-in.
make it sound like you're not. Yeah.
I'm not a shut-in. I'm all over the place, but it's just wrangling me to get me in a spot
You
is what.
sound like Chef Brian when he's like, I can't stand these foodie
Yeah,
motherfuckers.
yeah.
But I don't wanna sound like a bad person. I'm not
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
love him, but I just can't stand yeah, no, it's so
yeah.
funny. So
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, I mean, listen, yeah, well, you hit a certain time of the night and, you can opt in or opt out to heading outside, and, yeah, I will but in my defense, I draw a lot. So, I'm opting to not hang out to get stuff
To get
done,
some drawing done,
to
to
get
put in
some
the
drawing
work
done.
and not take the easy way out.
But, you know, that being said, I'm sure people were like, "Oh, man, that guy just probably never leaves his home." I was well trained for the pandemic, I'll tell you that much. I was training for that moment my entire life.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm gonna get you out, and when I get you out, I'm gonna get photographic evidence that I got vertebrae out of the house. We're gonna get a sandwich. We're gonna pick up some comic books. We're gonna go see Godzilla. I'm not fucking around, man. I'm getting you out. You're gonna
Let's
come
not do
over.
all that in one day, that's too
No,
much.
no, we're gonna break it up. We're gonna break it up,
That's
and it's
too
gonna all
much.
happen within the span of 1 year. I'm hoping.
I mean, I've never seen a Godzilla movie on the big screen.
Yeah, it's about time, man. It's about that time.
Yeah.
It'll be our birthday gift to each other.
Oh, look at
Cute.
that.
But that was all I got. I got the Godzilla comic book, the Ninja Turtles is coming back, and big, big, big shout outs to Johnny Booth, that brand new album, Moments Elsewhere. Slams. If you're at the gym, it's a good listen at the gym. And
Throw it on the can we throw it on the playlist? Can we
yeah,
throw it
I'll
on?
throw I'll throw one of my favorite songs
Yeah,
off
why
the
not?
album on
It's
the
part
play.
of this.
It's part of the world, and I'm definitely gonna try and see if we can get their singer on to do
Awesome.
it, maybe a point five or maybe a movie with us. We'll see. We'll see. Did you get all your gnarly bits in for episode 15.5 of In
Yeah,
Madness Pod?
I'm good. I had that rant. I'm tired. I'm gonna have to lay down now after that angry rant of mine.
That was great. No, we need more vertebrae rants. Maybe we can make a new clip for it. Vertebrae rants.
Yeah, yeah. Hide your kids. He's
Yeah.
ranting.
Make sure
Awesome.
you follow us on the socials at In Madness Pod. We're also on threads, inmadnesspod@gmail.com. Subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe to the In Madness playlist. The links for everything is in the description of this episode, of every episode. And we recently did T1.
Uh-huh.
And we had a very fun time. And I believe we even teased our next movie. And I believe the teases were Public Enemy t-shirt
Uh-huh.
and Guns N' Roses.
Yes.
I don't know if I had any. Do you have any other teasers you want to
I
do
mean, I
for
think that's
I want
You got one? All right.
say that's a nice bike.
Uh,
Or one more. Get out
yeah.
now.
Oh, geez. You did the whole thing. You're just
Or did he say now or just say get
I
out?
don't know. We're gonna find out. We're gonna tune
um,
in to find out.
Yeah, episode 16, man. Look at how quick these are going. We're doing this weekly. We're breaking episodes up, part 1, part 2. We're doing these 0.5s. We weren't going to do them for every episode, but goddamn, I mean, there's enough news and enough cool stuff to talk about that's not movie related that, yeah, man, we'll do as many of these 0.5s, and then maybe we'll even do 0.5 Instagram live little mix-ins.
And maybe we'll have a special guest or two on 0.5.
Yeah, we need to start reaching out and branching out more, man. I like these adjustments we're making. The show is a lot of fun. Thank you very much for joining us. We went a little long on this 0.5, but whatever. Some will be longer and some will be shorter.
Yeah.
But that's what these are for. This is fun. I'm having a great time doing these. I'm looking very much forward to our next episode. And we just started discussing the season we're about to get in and how we're going to plan out that season. Halloween is coming up real quick, so I know I like to get in the spirit super
We're gonna
early.
be getting there super early, and
Yes.
then when we end this episode, I don't want to step across your line at the end of this episode. You want to try it again? I stepped on your line previously.
Okay, so we're wrapping up. This
We're
is
wrapping
episode
up. We're good.
15.5.
Yes,
Okay.
we're good.
Okay. Well, I'll make it for both of us instead of just singular, right? Right?
Okay.
Yeah. We'll be back.